Hi, my name is Renato Almeida. I'm from São Paulo, Brazil. I'm a PR and I've been working with SEGA, and you are listening to SEGA Lounge.
Welcome to the SEGA Lounge, a podcast dedicated to our love for all things SEGA, be it the games, the music, or the community. I'm KC. In each episode, I'll be talking to different guests and sharing their projects and their passion for SEGA. Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the SEGA Lounge. I have a feeling we have a few new people around this week, so welcome to the lounge. Take a seat and grab a drink. We're here to talk about SEGA with SEGA fans, so if that's your thing, stick around. Also, a huge shout out to our Brazilian friends listening in. Oi, tudo bem? I hope you enjoyed this week's interview. It's going to be fantastic. Before we jump into it though, let me address some news we had this week. First up, new paid DLC has been announced for Streets of Rage 4. Yes! We're finally getting some new content to play in the streets of Wood Oak City. There's no definitive date yet for when this will come out, but it will include a new game mode called Mr. X's Nightmare, new moves and weapons, new music by T-Lopes, and new playable characters. At least 3, judging by the picture shown in the announcement video. The first one to be revealed was fan favorite Estelle. Lizard Cube, Guard Crush Games, and .amu also announced a free patch to be released alongside the paid DLC, which includes features such as new character palettes, training and tutorial modes, some gameplay tweaks, and an even more insane Mania Plus mode. I mean, what? The video is actually amazing to watch with loads of Easter eggs, so do check it out. Link will be in the show notes. The second bit of news I wanted to mention is the announcement of the release date for Alex Kidd in Miracle World DX. This remake will be coming out on June 24th on PC, PlayStation 4 and 5, Xbox Series X and S, and Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch. A signature edition of the game is also available to pre-order right now, containing a plethora of unique collectibles like a special game box, a physical copy of the game, an art book, a CD with the soundtrack, some cards, pins, and a medallion. Check out the show notes for a link to the online store. We'll be talking more about Alex Kidd very soon on the show, so stay tuned. And that's it for news, so it's time to introduce you to this week's guest. This week, it's my absolute honor to introduce you to Renato Almeida, a SEGA fan who hails us all the way from Brazil. Renato used to pretend he was the CEO of SEGA when he was a young boy. Little did he know he would be working with the company a few years later. I had a wonderful time talking to Renato, and the chat was so good we had to break it into 2 episodes of the show. This week we're going back in time to when SEGA dominated the Brazilian gaming scene, and Renato will take us through how his passion for the Blue Company started. We'll also have the first half of the SEGA Lounge Challenge. I'd like to thank the legendary Danny Russell of SEGA for suggesting Renato as a guest for the show. Much appreciated. But enough of me babbling, let's get to know Renato Almeida. Hi Renato, olá, welcome to the SEGA Lounge.
Hello, David. Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure.
Oh, my pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, Renato, we will talk about your many, many stories. So for just a little context for people listening to us right now, before we started recording this show, we were talking a little bit about your stories, your experiences with SEGA. So I'm sure we're going to have a lot to talk about. So this is going to be a very interesting episode of the SEGA Lounge for people listening in. But let's start from the beginning, from the very beginning. You're a massive gamer, massive fan of video games. Would you like to tell us how that it all started? So how was your introduction to video games? Which game was your first and things like that?
Oh, okay. So I was first introduced to video games, and the main culprit is my father. He was the one who brought an Atari to my home when I was 4 years old. It wasn't actually an Atari 2600 as most kids at the time had, but mine was a clone system. These clone systems, they were very popular in Brazil. The distribution of video games didn't exist back in the day, so it was like it was a crazy market in which companies, Brazilian companies and companies from abroad, they started to sell clone systems from Atari. So I had this clone from a Brazilian company called CCE, and it was a small red clone system of the Atari. And the first game that I had, the first game that I recall playing with my father was Demon Attack. And it's not a suggestive game for a small kid, but at least the name, the name is terrible. But it was one of those shooters that were very popular back in the day because of Space Invaders and all of those games. But I had some happy times with my Atari clone, and I played a lot with my father. I was an only child back in the day, and I used to play a lot of video games, so Pitfall, River Raid, Enduro, and other popular Atari games on this system. But it didn't took long until I heard about the Sega Master System. And It was crazy because 2 weeks ago I was writing a text for a book that will be launched here in Brazil. I was invited to write my story with the Master System, and I wrote that video games were something magical for me when I saw them happening right off over my eyes with the Atari. But when I heard and when I saw the first things about the Master System, it was like a revolution, because it was the video games entertainment, but taken seriously. The colors, the graphics, what the system was capable of. So it was something that gave me a lot of happiness, and I didn't even had the system by that time. I was just reading news and information on magazines, and my cousins, they were the first ones who got their Master System, the first model from Tectoy. Tectoy is a very famous partner of Sega here in Brazil.
Yeah.
So
still keeping the Sega name alive, right? To this day.
Yeah, for sure. We're going to mention them more in this show, but so my cousins, they got their hands on a Master System. I started to play the system with them, but I had to wait until Christmas to have my system. And when I got mine, I got the Master System 1 set from Tectoy, which was the one who came with the light phaser and 2 controllers and everything that we could have at the time. So it was a great system. And because of that story of living with the Master System at my place, I also had the opportunity to play with my father and get to know games like Safari Hunt and Hang On. Both games were built in the system, so I used it to play a lot with my father, and I was breathing Sega and the Master System with so many games. And one thing that I used it to do with one of my cousins was to play with those Matchbox cars. You remember those? Like metal cars? and we not only played with those cars, like taking the cars to for a ride. We use it to come up with stories, and we ourselves were characters. So I could invent a story about a character that I would like to be. And my cousin, he used it to pretend he was like a farmer because he had these trucks and etc. But my story, as a 8 years old kid, was that I was the owner of Sega. So I had these fancy cars, and I used it to drive between this place and the other place. And I was this big manager of Sega. So I was fantasizing that I was the owner of Sega because I wanted to come up with ideas to create video games. So in my mind, I think my experience with Sega started with when I was 7 or 8 years old. So, and I started big. I was the CEO. So even to this day, when someone asks me, "Hey Renato, when did you first start to working with Sega?" and I say, "Well, I believe I was 7 or 8, and I was the CEO." But this this is
That's
a
amazing.
fabulous and amazing memory that I have.
Ah,
I keep this very close to my heart because it was back then that all this love started for sure.
hmm
And when I first started to work with Sega, like the real deal, well, when I remember that story, I cried a lot. It was very an emotional time for me.
awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, it's funny for me because in Europe, especially in certain parts of Europe, in Portugal, where I'm from,
Hmm.
is certainly one of those. Sega was amazing, was big here. So by the
Hmm.
time we got the Mega Drive, there was nothing else
Hmm.
basically. So
Hmm.
you basically couldn't find that many people with Nintendo consoles. It was all about Sega.
Okay.
Uh, but
Hmm.
I know that Brazil took that to another level, a whole new level, because you guys had Tectoy, which
Hmm.
made the consoles themselves, right? So they were produced in Brazil, if I'm
Hmm.
not mistaken. So do you think
Hmm.
that was part of the reason why Sega was so successful in Brazil? Were there any other factors involved, in your opinion?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Tectoy, they were pretty lucky. Not it wasn't only lucky. They were on capable hands back in the day, and they managed to secure an amazing deal with Sega of Japan, and they had this front of the business that was dedicated to not only bring the games and maybe localize some of the games and to represent Sega and do like consulting, but they were like a 360 degrees agency for Sega. They did marketing, they did PR, they did business development, so everything that a client could dream of back in the day. So
Mm-hmm.
it was something very good, and it was the main business for Tectoy. They started, if I'm not wrong, they started with representing the a toy which was, I believe, it was produced or maybe distributed by Sega in Japan and other territories. Do you remember the Zillion pistol?
Mm-hmm.
There's this anime slash cartoon in Japan, very popular, Zillion, and I
Yeah.
believe it was Sega who produced this toy, and they first signed to distribute that Zillion pistol toy in Brazil, and then from there they started to work together with in the video games business, and the Master System was the first the first thing that they brought, and we didn't have any sort of connection with the Sega Mark III or maybe Sega SG 1000, nothing like that. So we were part of the Western package. So we had the Master System, and since then. Tectoy knew how to take advantage of this partnership, and they created several products and several versions of the Master System. So the first version was the one with Hang On and Safari Hunt and the light phaser and the 3D goggles and everything packed in a set. The second version was an amazing success because it brought Alex Kidd as a built-in game. So
Mm-hmm.
they were dominating the market, not only because of the successful model that they found and that they brilliantly executed, but also because they didn't have an official competition from Nintendo. So Nintendo back in the day, they didn't have an official representation here, and it's funny because several companies from Brazil also had their clone systems from the NES. So the NES was not popular as an official console, but people knew Nintendo games because of clone systems. Like
Yeah.
the Phantom system was a very popular one, but there were many others. But it was some sort of an ideal environment in which Tectoy could develop more and more and more.
Yeah, yeah. They could thrive with Sega products, and the market
Hmm.
was ripe at the time. That's amazing. Yeah, yeah. So you mentioned
Yes.
the Master System. Did you what was next from there? Did you go to the Mega Drive, Saturn, and so on, or how did it go for
Yes.
you?
Yeah. This is an interesting story. I was already following the good path of Sega, and when the time was right, I did jump the generation, and I sold. I Back in the day, it was very common, and due to the situation of Brazil, which it's very complicated because the prices are very high for video games and technology products. I had to sell my Master System with all the cartridges and all the accessories to a store, and then use that money as credit to buy the Mega
Mm-hmm.
Drive.
Yeah.
And it was very, very funny because the Mega Drive that they had to sell was the Japanese one, because the consoles back in the day, I got the Mega Drive before Tectoy even selling the console in the country. So I got my Japanese Mega Drive because it was imported from Paraguay. So this store in my city, which was a very small city in the countryside of São Paulo, they were importing Mega Drives because it's super hot. They were importing from
Yeah.
Paraguay, and the models that they had there were the Japanese models. And it was funny because my cousins, they were always ahead of me, and they had an imported Sega Genesis. And when I got my Mega Drive on the Christmas night, I was craving to get over with the party to go home, install the console, and play the games. But I was very disappointed because I couldn't play the Genesis games on the Japanese version of the console.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, because there was a
Yeah.
lock, a physical lock.
I
It was a
wasn't even
physical lock.
thinking about that. I was just, yeah, okay, you got a Japanese Mega Drive. That's cool. I didn't even think of the region lock.
Yes, my father obviously they did. My father obviously he didn't know about that. He's family. He was familiar with video games just as a thing that you put the cartridge on, turn on the video game, and starts playing. So
Yeah.
so when we got home, it was late in the night, and I couldn't sleep because I was so disappointed. And I got a copy of a game from my cousins. I wanted to borrow a game from them, but they didn't want to give me Sonic because Sonic was super hot. And they told me, hey, we are not going to give you Sonic, so instead you can take Batman. Do you remember the first Batman game?
Yeah.
So they gave me the game, and I couldn't play because of the lock, the physical lock. So I was crying. I couldn't understand why. So what my father did, and this is amazing. I love my father because of that. He called a friend of his who was a technician of televisions. So a TV technician, a guy specialized in fixing old TVs. And we took the system to this guy's place, and he removed the lock. So he fixed the video game. Yeah, he opened the video game and he fixed the problem in the middle of the night. Do you believe that? Can you believe that?
Same night?
Same night. Same night.
That's amazing.
This guy was a very close friend of my father, and he was partying. So it was Christmas night, so he was with his family partying. He was kind of drunk, but and he said, "Okay, bring the system to me. I'll take a look." And I remember that I was very happy that I could maybe try to fix this. And then the guy, he opened the system, he saw what the problem was, he fixed it. It was like a physical solution, and we brought the console back to my place. And when I first started the game, I was crazy, man. I was playing that as that there's no tomorrow, I was playing. I started to play, and I only remember this turning the system off because it was daylight was starting to appear in my window. And but my father, he wanted me to be happy with the system. He knew how important that was to me, and because of that, I have very fond memories of the first Batman game on the system, because it's a good game with very decent gameplay, great soundtrack, but it's more special because of that,
Yeah, more of the story behind it, right? Your experience.
Yes, and I had the opportunity to tell this same story in a book here in Brazil. There's this publishing company. They are specialized in video games books, and they have this collection in which they cover every system available, popular systems. I mean, and when they started to write about the Mega Drive and the Sega Genesis, I was invited to write this story as part of the book, so it was very, very nice.
It's a very nice story. You didn't sleep at all that night.
It's not over. It's not over. Oh. This story gets better.
There's more. Okay.
So we jump a few years, maybe a year or 2 years, I don't recall. But I was very passionate about my Mega Drive. I've played classics and more classics. I remember being like frozen in enchantment when I first saw Sonic 2, which is my favorite game ever. And I spent countless hours playing Phantasy Star and Streets of Rage 2, which is my second favorite game ever. But at certain point, I was a very passionate kid, and I loved arcades. I was visiting arcades like in a daily basis after school. I spent quarters and quarters every day. And then one day I saw a little game called Street Fighter 2. And that game changed my life. It was amazing. I was spending every day playing at least a quarter and playing a lot of Street Fighter on the arcade, And it was very disappointing to me when I heard that the Super Nintendo was going to get a version, a port of Street Fighter 2, and that the Mega Drive, the Genesis and Mega Drive owners couldn't play the game at home, So it was very, very disappointed. But I was completely insane with Street Fighter 2. I was going crazy, and I decided to make this awful move. And
Oh
I asked my
no.
father to sell my Mega Drive and get a Super
Oh
Nintendo because of
no.
Street Fighter 2.
No. I have a feeling you're not the only one that did that at the time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's not over yet. So what we did was to take the system back to the same shop. It was the only shop selling video games in that city, and we offered the Mega Drive back to the owner of the shop, and we paid some money to get the Super Nintendo and Street Fighter 2. So it was something that I had very mixed feelings, you know. I felt a lot that I was doing the right thing because at the moment, but I knew that I was going to regret later, you know. And I didn't know it was going to be so fast because I had the Super Nintendo. I was playing a lot of Street Fighter every single day, and then I was traveling with my parents. We went to visit my grandfather and grandmother in another city, which is a big city, uh, and we were visiting a mall with them. And then I was checking the newsstand on that mall and looking for new magazines, video game magazines. I used it to buy a lot of video games magazines back in the day. And then I read Street Fighter is real on the Mega Drive. And I almost had a heart attack, you know. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this. Oh my God, I made a mistake. I made a huge mistake. Oh my God, what I'm going to do? How I'm going to explain this to my father? Oh my God, oh my God. So then I spent like a week preparing the story to my father, you know, and and then when I was ready, I told him about the situation, and then my super amazing father came to me with my Super Nintendo and Street Fighter 2 back to the shop to see if we could get the Mega Drive back. But here's the best part. At that time, Tectoy already released their version of the Mega Drive.
Oh.
And everybody wanted the Tectoy version because it was the one with the most support, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wanted a Japanese Mega Drive because of the cartridges, and they didn't know that I had unlocked that system. I didn't tell that to
Mm-hmm.
the shop. So the shop had my console there. They didn't sell my console. It was there at their storage. So I managed to get my own console back, my Japanese version, you know.
Oh, that's awesome. Nobody wanted it because it was region locked, but it wasn't.
Uh-huh. It wasn't. It wasn't. So I managed to get my system back. The guy was
Mhm.
super friendly. He returned the money that we put to get the Super Nintendo, and then I got that money, and I told my father, "Let's wait for Street Fighter 2 to come out on the Mega Drive." But amazingly enough, I never bought Street Fighter 2 for the Mega Drive. Not until recent years. Yeah, because I had to wait. So I was waiting for Street Fighter 2 in the logical way, playing on the arcades. So I
Yeah.
played a lot. But other games came out. Other games took the place that Street Fighter 2 had in my mind. I started to
Yeah.
play like the King of Fighters, Samurai
Mhm.
Showdown, Mortal Kombat, and other. So I never bought Street Fighter 2 on the Mega Drive until like 5 years ago because I wanted to have on my collection,
Yeah.
and I was from that day on I was very careful when approaching my father and my mother to talk about changing my console. So from there, I only jumped the generations because there was a reasonable reason for that. So
Yeah.
a few years later, I sold the cartridges, and I didn't sell the system. I sold the cartridges, the Mega Drive cartridges. Some
Hmm.
that I really liked, I kept, but some I've sold. I sold a separate controller, the 3-button controllers. I only kept the 6-button ones, and then I got the Sega Saturn. And I was one of those kids, like one of those preacher kids. Everybody knew those kids, like the ones preaching about how the Saturn was the better choice over the PlayStation, and etc.
Yeah,
and etc.
yeah.
I was one of those kids. I was an adolescent. I wasn't like a small child anymore. I was a teenager, and I freaking loved the Saturn. I
Hmm.
do you remember that whole Mega Drive attitude, the bad boy attitude that Sega used to
Yeah.
have? I thought that the Sega Saturn was like an evolution of that. So
Hmm.
the design of the console, the design of the controllers, the games that the system was releasing. I saw that you have this beautiful shirt of Sega Rally. That's the Sega Rally 2, right? But Sega Rally was an amazing game which I played a lot, a lot. And so I was very, very happy with my Saturn. I was very, very sad when I heard the news about the life of the console coming to an end. And of course, I was among the front line of fans waiting for the Dreamcast, and I got my Dreamcast. I think I was one of the first kids to have a Dreamcast here in Brazil, because I got the console really, really, really early. When Tectoy started to sell, I was one of the first to buy.
Hmm.
Uh, so I completed the full cycle
Yeah.
of Sega consoles. I didn't have a Game Gear because my brother, he was the one really passionate about portable gaming. So he had a Game Boy, then he swapped for a Game Boy Color, then the GBA, and etc. 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 So, and then my father only gave us permission to have one portable system, and it was my brother's call to what he wanted.
Yeah. So your younger brother then, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
yeah. Yeah, I think when it comes to portable consoles, to handheld consoles, the Game Gear never really had a chance against the Game Boy, right? Even though it was in
Yes.
some regards superior, but it was just there
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
th- the massive distribution of the Game Boy and how it was already established. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Tectoy did a good job when it comes to promoting the Game Gear and supporting with the cartridges and the games and the accessories, but it was really, really expensive. It
Hmm.
was difficult to explain a father or a mother that a portable system would cost as much as a console, a
Yeah.
regular console. And there was
And then
one
the
other
batteries as
thing.
well.
Yeah, the batteries. The battery aspect of the system was a heavy hitter. I remember that the kids that got the system also complained a lot about the batteries, and well, Tectoy did what they could have done back in the day. The system had a certain penetration in the market, but in the end, the Game Boy was more successful. They had, by that time, Playtronic, a company called Playtronic, was representing Nintendo here, so they did have official support. They also
Yeah,
had
yeah.
a great structure to bring the games. It was
Hmm.
a different story.
Yeah, yeah. It
So,
makes sense. It makes sense. Yeah.
yes.
Hmm.
And well, we've never
But
heard about the Nomad back in the day as well.
yeah,
So Tectoy didn't bring the Nomad to
which is
Brazil.
actually kind of weird because you guys had everything and more. So it would make sense that the Tectoy would bring up some kind of Nomad clone or maybe official, because they were official products, official licensed Sega
Yeah,
products.
yeah,
So
yeah.
maybe the
Hmm.
like a
Hmm.
Brazilian Nomad or something like that. That's a shame.
Hmm. Well, several years later, like 10 years ago or maybe 5 years ago, Tectoy did come up with a portable Mega Drive system, but it was nothing like the Nomad. It was something that you can.
With
It's
built-in
a
games.
it's yeah, built-in games, and they have a Master System version as well, but it's nothing like the Nomad. You can't.
Hmm.
I believe you can't plug the system in a TV just like the Nomad,
Yeah.
and you don't have the cartridge slots. It's something
Hmm.
very
Hmm.
different, But it's kind of a successor, a spiritual successor. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so those are your history with Sega as a kid is amazing, is amazing. So thank you very much for
Thank
sharing
you.
that. For sharing, that's awesome. So if I had to tell you, you already mentioned Sonic 2 and Streets of Rage 2 as your favorite games of all time, right?
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
let's do a different thing. Let's think about, so those are both Mega Drive games. Let's think about the Saturn and the Dreamcast. If you had to choose like one or two from each system, which ones would you say are your favorite? And even the Master System as well.
Oh,
Let's go with that. Let's say you could pick like three, one from each system: Master System, Saturn, and Dreamcast. Could you do it?
okay, okay. Great question. Yeah, for sure. My favorite Master System game is Phantasy Star for sure, and there's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
reasons for that. Uh, the first reason is that Phantasy Star was the first ever video game RPG ever translated to Brazilian Portuguese. So this was a marvelous, a phenomenal job from by Tectoy. They brought the game with a considerable, a reasonable delay from the original launch, but because they localized the game completely, and it was the first RPG ever localized in Brazilian Portuguese. So uh, the RPG was very new in general in Brazil. We obviously we had uh, some pen and paper RPG. It was kind of popular in small circles, but the RPGs they were for grown-up kids, for teenagers, not kids, not
Mm-hmm.
small kids like I was. So when Tectoy brought Phantasy Star, they had two selling points, communication-wise. The first one was about the game being an RPG, which was a brand new genre for video games. Uh, we were a country that didn't have access to any NAS RPGs, so Phantasy Star was the first one, and they were promoting that as a very different and unique genre, So I remember an advertising piece in which they say that the game has countless hours of fun, countless hours of adventures, countless hours of challenges, and not because the game is difficult, but because it has a lot of story, So that was very interesting to learn
Mm-hmm.
about. And the second was the fact that this was one of the first games localized to our language. And I mean,
Yeah.
in general,
Yeah, not just an
when
RPG.
you yes. So we've played other titles like Shinobi or Alex Kidd in Miracle World and etc. And all of those games they were in English. The best part was that Tectoy did localize the manuals and the cover arts, the cover of the game and the back cover of the game. But in terms of localization, it was brand new. It was something that was was big. It was very big.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
in addition to that, it was special because uh, I played this game uh, with my cousins. It was a shared experience. So
Hmm.
we were swapping the controller. So everybody had a turn and a battle. We wanted to share this experience. And one thing that we did, and a lot of kids also done, we had someone holding a pen and some sheets of paper to
Drawing a map.
draw the maps. Yeah, so it was amazing because someone was like looking at the TV, someone was playing, giving instructions to the other who was drawing the the
The map,
dungeons.
yeah, the
So
dungeon map, yeah.
it was fantastic. It was an experience like no other. It was the a shared moment of happiness. And we
Hmm.
we we spent like days to beat that game. And when we finally done, it was as an amazing as winning the World Cup in 1994.
Yeah.
We were celebrating and screaming and
Which
saying,
Brazil did
"Well,
as well. So.
yes, yes, yes." No, I'm comparing those because it was real. The experience, the enjoyment was almost like the same.
Yeah, awesome, awesome.
So
So
it
for
was
the
pretty
Master
pretty great.
System, Fantasy Star for sure, hands
Yes,
down.
yes. Yes. Well, the Saturn, it's kind of a hard question because I've been living like I can separate the Saturn into phases, two different phases in my life, because there was the original phase when I first got the console, but there's this new phase when I rediscovered the system when I was already a collector, in my adult life, because I started to import games from Japan, and
Hmm.
but my favorite game of the system must be Guardian Heroes.
Okay.
Guardian Heroes is one of the games that I had the most fun with. It was a game that I've played a lot with my brother, and I loved that this game had this huge replay value. And at that time, we used it to go to rental shops. Like they were very popular, so you could rent games like Blockbuster used to do in several countries. So we could rent games. And one of the games that I was always renting and from the shop was Guardian Heroes. I freaking loved the story, the characters, the combo system, and it was one of the games that I managed to convince my brother to play with me, because, as I told you, he was a Game Boy fan. He wanted to play alone with his system, and Guardian Heroes was one of the games that helped to build this bond with my brother.
Hmm.
And for the Dreamcast, there's no other answer. It's Shenmue.
Okay, good man, good man.
Shenmue was Shenmue was it when I first heard about Shenmue, when I first read about Shenmue actually on magazines, when I first understood the how big that game was, the scale, and what that game was bringing to the table, and how it was moving the industry forward. I couldn't believe, I can honestly tell you, I was kind of. It was difficult to believe that the game would deliver what it was promising. I
Did
had
you
faith,
actually
obviously.
were you actually able to understand from, because I had heard of Shenmue from, I had read about it, not really heard so
Hmm.
much, but read about it. But I never really fully understood what Shenmue was supposed to be doing and the scope of everything, and how, as you said, it was supposed to move the industry forward, I never really fully understood it until I played the game. Because I
Yeah,
didn't really it blew my mind because my expectations weren't that high because I really didn't get exactly how amazing the original idea Yu Suzuki's plan was for the game. So it was only when I
yeah.
played it that I realized what it was supposed to be.
Yeah, for me it was a bit different because uh, I had a subscription for a video games magazine, and I also bought another one, the competitor. And the magazines, the editors who managed to be at E3 and other events and to learn more from Japanese video game magazines, they made a big deal out of it. Do you remember
Hmm.
those early 2000s, 2005, 2010 conversations about, oh, the video games industry is getting bigger than Hollywood? Do you remember those
Yeah,
conversations?
yeah.
I first heard about those conversations with Shenmue.
Hmm.
So when the magazine started to cover that game here in Brazil, they started to compare the scale of this project because of the budget, especially to Hollywood movies. So it was then that I first heard this concept of the video games are going to get bigger than movies.
Hmm.
So I have a magazine which brings some quotes from Yu Suzuki, and I remember that I was super impressed. And I obviously I knew who he was because of his story with the arcades and very popular IPs and etc. But I was going crazy with the expectation, and
Hmm.
when the game came out, I was the first one to rent it on the rental shop. I didn't buy the game because it was very hard to find. I couldn't find easily, and it was simply great, to witness the open world like environments, the way you could interact with characters, the possibilities that the game brought, the quick time events,
Hmm.
everything that the game had to offer was very, very fulfilling and surprising as well.
Yeah.
I freaking loved the soundtrack.
Oh, amazing.
I believe I had this special sensibility when it comes to video games music. Because everybody loves video games music, but I wanted I like it to appreciate it. Not only when I was active playing. Sometimes I wanted to turn the game on to listen to the score. So
Yeah.
it was great. It was an amazing experience,
I
and
think the
it
whole
was
package.
super.
No one really. People who never experienced the game back then, uh, fully understand what it was like to be a gamer back then and experience
Hmm.
Shenmue for the first time. The full
Hmm.
package of graphics, gameplay, story,
Hmm. Hmm.
realism in terms of, for example, weather, the whole concept of the free system, like the full reactive eyes entertainment or free genre,
Hmm.
which was supposed to be
Hmm.
a new genre of games, and the soundtrack, everything put together was just simply amazing. So I don't think people
Yes.
are able to fully understand what that was at the time if they just play the game for the
Yes.
first time now, out of context.
Yes. Yes. And
Yeah.
it's so very special. And later on, I managed to get a copy of the game. I have it until now, and now I have the blessing of Yu Suzuki himself. I have his autograph on that
Okay.
edition. So
Awesome.
yeah, and it was very, very nice to revisit. the game in several different times of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up and getting older with the game, I recall playing it several times in several different periods of my life. And recently, when Sega released the collection before Shenmue 3, I also had to sit and play again until the end, and it was great. I think it's one of those games that from 5 years, 5 years from now, I'm going to play again. Then 5 years from there, I'm going to play again. So
Yeah, I get it. Awesome.
it's very,
Okay.
very special.
Yeah. Renato, we'll have to take a quick break here. I could talk to you for days, I'll be honest, but we'll have to take a quick break because I have a surprise for you when we come back. So.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
I like
nice.
surprises.
Oh, do you now? Okay, we'll be right back. Looking for something perfect to give to that special someone in your life? A gift that says, thank you, I love you, or simply, you smell of farts, you dirty pig? Rapmaster is proud to announce Random Presents, patent pending. Our random presents, patent pending, are your safest bet when you need a gift. Choose from a variety of sizes, colors, and wrapping papers. The best part? You won't even know what you're getting. Gone are the days of worrying too much about choosing the perfect gift. With Random Presents, patent pending, from Rapmaster, it's a surprise for both the recipient and you. There's a good chance Rapmaster's Random Presents, patent pending, are perfect for anniversaries, engagements, breakups, funerals, and really bad gas problems. Rapmaster's Random Presents, patent pending, the safest choice, probably. Welcome back, Renato. Welcome back to the SEGA Lounge.
Thank you so much.
You said you like surprises, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so every time someone comes on the show, there's something called the SEGA Lounge Challenge.
Now that you know our guests, it's time to put them to the test. It's the moment we've waited for, and the moment they dread.
Welcome to your doom.
I mean, welcome to the SEGA Lounge Challenge.
Okay, that's my
Whoa.
surprise.
Okay.
So the SEGA Lounge Challenge can be anything I want.
Now I'm afraid.
No, you said you like surprises, so no turning back. You said you like them.
Okay.
So, yeah, you're gonna like this, or maybe not. Okay, so I think the right.
I hope this. Oh, sorry. I hope this challenge is not as scary as the Sega test. I recently took the Sega test last December, and oh boy, that was a challenge.
Okay, I don't know.
But I got
know.
approved.
Awesome. I hope you get approved as well. What I have for you is what I call the ultimate Sega fan challenge. So you're a massive Sega fan. What this consists of is 10 questions, although some are not questions exactly. I'll explain. You can get up to 20 points. That's your maximum score here, 20 points.
Okay.
But it depends on the choices you make throughout the challenge, okay? So I'll explain as we go along. So let's start with number one. Number one is the question. So here's where things get interesting. You can choose between an easy or hard question. For an easy question, you get 1 point for a correct answer, but you get 2 points if you get a hard question right. So that's why it varies. You can start with an easy or hard. It depends. So it's up to you.
Oh my God. Okay, let's
easy for
start.
1 point, hard for 2.
No, okay. Let's start with the easy one because with so much pressure, this one might be a hard one.
You are a smart man. People usually start with the hard ones and they regret it. So start slow. That's a good idea. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go with this. This is probably very easy for you, but okay. Upon starting a game of Space Harrier, are you familiar with Space Harrier? Yes.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Upon starting a game of Space Harrier, you press start, you start a game. What words are you greeted with? What words do you hear when you start a new game of Space Harrier?
Yeah, there's this narrator, and when you press start, you have him saying, "Welcome to the fantasy zone."
Is that your final answer? Are you sure?
Yeah. And then he says, "Get ready," because you have to get ready.
So no doubt, for sure. Welcome to the fantasy zone. Get ready.
This is what I recall when you start Space Harrier.
And you are correct. Yes, welcome to the fantasy zone. Get ready. 1 point.
Oh my god.
Well done. Well done. Okay, that's one done. So number 2 is not a question. Number 2 is where things get interesting because true Sega fans, and you told us about music and your love for video game music and how you like to enjoy video game music. So a true Sega fan also knows Sega music well. And so number 2 is a piece of Sega music, a 10-second long clip. And what I need you to do is to tell me which game it's from and also the name of the song or the name of the stage it plays in or where it plays in the game. Okay, so 1 point for the game, 1 point for the song itself. Got it?
Ooh, okay.
Yeah? Okay, so let's take a listen to our first song of the challenge.
Okay, that's from Alex Kidd in Miracle World. If I recall, it's when you drop in the water level. I think that's it. Oh my god.
Are you sure? You have to be sure. This is like a life or death matter. It's not, okay.
Okay, let's do this. Let's do this.
Yeah?
The water level, Alex Kidd in Miracle World.
Okay. So that's your answer. Water level in Alex Kidd in Miracle World. Your answer.
Yes.
Let's start with this song. So this is indeed a water level. So 1 point. 1 point. Good job. The song is called Swimming, or someone called it Swimming. So yeah. The thing is, this is from the Alex Kidd series, indeed. But, Renato, it is from Alex Kidd in Miracle World. Of course it is.
Oh my
1
god.
point as well.
Oh, you're so cruel. Oh my god. You can be really cruel with this mystery. Oh my god.
That's part of the challenge.
This is a
3
very,
points.
very important game to me.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to tell you that your goal here is to get at least 10 points. So you've got 3 already. 3 already, which is awesome.
Okay.
You haven't answered anything wrong so far. Awesome.
I hope my Sega certificate helps me.
Yes, it should. Okay, number 3 is another question. So easy or hard? Easy for 1 point, hard for 2.
Okay, let's try the hard one. Oh my god.
Let's try the hard one. Oh my god. Okay. So let's go with a hard question. Okay. So I'm
Oh my
sorry.
god.
I'm sorry. So you love Streets of Rage 2, right?
I do. I actually do.
Okay. So your hard question is in stage 4 of Streets of Rage 2,
Mm-hmm.
the baseball stadium level,
Mm-hmm.
which of the following options is a sentence that you can see in the background? So you're playing the game, and in the background, you can see some sentences like graffiti on the wall or something. So, which of the
Oh my
following
gosh.
is one of those sentences you can see on the background? So, option A, it's like Boo. Option B,
Okay.
Dodgers forever. So, like number 4, EVA, forever.
Mm-hmm.
Option C, play ball. So option A, it's like Boo, exclamation mark.
Mm-hmm.
Option B,
Mm-hmm.
Dodgers forever. Option
Mm-hmm.
C, play ball, exclamation mark.
It's option A because it's very unusual. It's an unusual sentence. I recall that. It's a very unusual sentence. I to this day, I wonder what the hell they were trying to to message us with that sign message. You know, I was thinking you were going to ask about the publicity signs. There's some Sega boards and stuff, but it's like Boo, the option A.
It's like Boo? Yeah, you think that's the thing on in
Yeah.
that stage of Streets of Rage 2? Yeah.
Yes, because it's very, very odd. I remember that it's very, very odd.
Okay. I'm gonna tell you something before I tell you if the answer is right or wrong. There are two sentences. There are two like graffitis that you can see.
Mm-hmm.
One of them says "do!" exclamation mark baseball
Mm-hmm.
exclamation mark. So do baseball.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
one of them. You
Mm-hmm.
say the other one is it's like Boo.
It's like Boo. Yeah.
It's like Boo.
Final answer.
Final answer.
Hit me.
For 2 points. For 2 points. Do baseball. It's like Boo. It's correct. Yes. Amazing. Well
Yes.
done.
Yes.
5 points so far. Awesome. Halfway there.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, you're doing fine. So let's do another song. Okay. 1
Okay.
point for the game, 1 point for the stage or song itself. Ready?
Okay, let's do this.
Yeah?
Yes.
Let's take a listen. Ooh.
Ooh. Can you play it again, please?
I
One more time.
can. Let's take a listen.
I'm pretty sure it is a Sonic game. I 100% that it's a Sonic game, but oh my god.
The question is which one, right?
Yes.
I'm not saying it's a Sonic game, but if it is a Sonic game, which one?
Yeah,
That's the
no,
thing.
that I am sure. I'm sure it's a Sonic game.
Okay.
I don't know why, but I'm leaning towards Sonic R.
Sonic R. And where do you think this plays in Sonic R?
No. Actually, I think this might be from the bonus stage, the 3D bonus stage from. Oh my god! When you get the big ring on Sonic Mania, the bonus level that is inspired on Sonic CD, if I recall.
The Emerald stages, the UFO
Yes.
chase.
Yes, the UFO. Yeah. Well, let's go with that. The UFO stage OST
From Sonic Mania. Okay, so you went from Sonic
Yes.
R to Sonic Mania in a few seconds.
Yeah. Sonic R. It's I don't recall that much. I didn't play as much of this game. I have the game in my collection, but I didn't play it as much.
So could be Sonic R, and you can't recognize it. Maybe.
Yes.
But you think Sonic Mania? Yeah.
Oh my
Final
god,
answer.
the drama. Oh my God. Yeah, let's go with the bonus stage, the UFO stage from Sonic Mania.
Okay,
I think
so that's your
I'm
answer.
Wrong, but okay. Yes.
I think you're wrong. I know if
I
you're
think
right
I'm
or
wrong.
wrong. I know
please.
the answer. I know the answer, and I will tell you that.
Spare me from the misery.
You are absolutely correct. Yes, it is.
Oh my
2 points. That's amazing.
Oh my
That's
God.
amazing.
Oh
It
my
was the special stage, the UFO chase stage from Sonic Mania. Well done. 2 points.
Oh my god.
And that's
Well,
7.
that was
Wow.
that's a relief. But
Awesome.
I don't know why I did I had this recollection of a song in Sonic R that has some arrangement that reminds me of this song.
Yeah.
After the show, I will probably hook up and check.
You'll have to go listen to the soundtrack. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, Renato, 7 points. Number 5 is a question, so easy or hard again?
Let's go with an easy one.
Easy one now? Okay, just to take
let's
a breather.
balance things.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Okay. Let's go with this one. World of Illusion. Are you familiar with World of Illusion?
Yes.
Yes?
Love this game.
Me
I'm
too.
trying to introduce this game to my son to play co-op
Awesome.
mode with him.
Oh, what an amazing game to play co-op. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so this should be a fairly easy question. In World of Illusion, how do Mickey and Donald attack their enemies?
Oh, with their magical capes. Capes, capes. I think it's cape.
Yeah.
It's the better translation, localization for the word. Magical capes. It's the game has this magical setup, which I think it's amazing. I'm a magician myself. I'm trying to be a magician in my part time, in my to entertain my kid. But yeah, it's a magical cape.
And it's correct. 1 point. Of course it is. Of course it's using their capes. Yes, that's it. Well done.
Yes. Thank you. Yes.
Okay. Oh, the tension. Will Renato get our official SEGA Lounge seal of approval? Will he be able to get out of the lounge alive? Tune in next week to find out. But yes, he will get out alive. There is no real danger in the SEGA Lounge challenge, other than the risk of going crazy with my mind games, that is. Anyway, I'd like to thank Renato for coming on the show, and please join us next week as we learn more about Masamune, Renato's PR and communication company. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to head over to our website, thesegalounge.com, where you can browse through our full list of episodes and even browse them by categories. Don't forget that you can also review this podcast, and if you do it in April, on our Podchaser page, which is podchaser.com/The Sega Lounge, you will be helping out people in need. Thank you so much for listening. It's been a pleasure to welcome you all to my humble abode. I hope to see you all next time, but until then, stay safe, have fun, and enjoy some Sega games. Bye-bye! The Sega Lounge, hosted by me, KC, and part of Radio Sega's network of live shows and podcasts. Theme song and incidental music by OSC. Find them at opussciencecollective.bandcamp.com. Got any suggestions? Drop me an email to podcast@thesegalounge.com. Follow us on Twitter @thesegalounge and like us at facebook.com/thesegalounge. You can find previous episodes of the show by going to thesegalounge.com and wherever fine podcasts are downloaded. A Mixdown Productions podcast.